We just haven't put that document together yet. We're working on it, but we're not there yet. And I will say, we do understand that there is water available in the Susquehanna River Basin at this time. And were we to eventually go down that path, the concept would be to deliver a supply back to Lebanon County that would meet our needs, as well as perhaps the next 2 decades of need here in the county.
Well, I guess if I may just follow up, Stephanie, and I promise I'll get back to you. You know, there was, and I'm stepping on eggshells here, I know, even asking this question, but for decades, we were promised a reservoir at Swatara State Park. And there was such an uproar, even though we have things like this where we run out of water currently. So I guess it's just so hard for me to comprehend how in 3.5 years, and we worked on this for decades, it was part of Project 70, how you can come in 3.5 years, cross all those hurdles and build this thing and use 8 million gallons a day. I just, share with me how you do this.
I think it's an unfair question, and I think in looking at it, it's, first of all, I'd compliment your community and looking ahead. And like any community, and I'm going to answer this question by using a quick analogy. One of the issues that fights all communities across this country is the mixing of storm runoff water with their sewer system. And when you get these heavy rains, storm water gets mixed with sewage water, and in some places this is a huge problem because they then have sewage that's bled into the river system and stuff like that that they can't get on top of. And my understanding is that better than 80% of the cities and towns in this country suffer this problem. In Omaha, Nebraska, it just came out that they are looking at something that could be as much as an $8 billion requirement to fix the problem. And so whenever you were to take a problem that big to a community, there's always going to be, and I think when you look, and I'm going to now draw back to Lebanon, when you look at water supplies going into the future and the drought period, there are solutions, but the solutions are normally not cheap. For instance, one of the solutions might be to take water from Swatara Creek and put it up behind Seagrass Dam during periods of high flow. And during low flow, you just wouldn't take it. But then you'd have to raise the level of Seagrass Dam to be able to hold that extra water. And you have to go through a bunch of permitting to do that and things of that sort. And when you come back to these sorts of things, it's always hard as to what people want to take back to the community, because most of the communities would like the quality of life to continue at the current value or less. We never want to hear our taxes are going to go up or our water rate's going to go up. And so I would say the opportunity for Tenaska's joining you in this search is that we look at all these things. And if a water line from the Susquehanna turns out to be the best, one of the things that we would do would be to pay for all of the permitting, all of the construction, all of the physical plant installation, and then for that small increment that might be, for instance, and I'll just use the analogy, were we to put in, say, a 10-inch line for our needs, or a 12-inch.
How big would the line be?
Don't know. I would say it's in the neighborhood of
30-inch.
Anywhere from probably 24 to 30 inches. But that, until you design it, that's an I hope I'm not quoted too far with that. You know, you have to design the flow. You have to look at the pumping requirements. You have to look at the efficiency and the horsepower, the coefficients of friction, and so on. But you deliver a system, and I just chose 10 inches because I think it's easier to talk in terms of 10 inches. And then the projected needs, as we understand it, is Lebanon County over the next decade is going to need another 2 million gallons a day of water. So if we brought water from Susquehanna, and we made sure that that additional 2 million gallon per day capacity was there, then that would be added to the system, and we'd work that out with the water district, and then that's here. But we're going to be paying about 90% plus of that cost. The county water company might pick up the rest, but then they might we might turn that whole system over to them to own and operate. And until we get there, it's just, these are all speculative sort of things. But the concept is it's a way of working together. And the answer, I think, is that when you have a large development such as this, with a guaranteed revenue stream, and we don't build one of these plants until we have a long-term power purchase agreement. So once you've got the revenue stream that's going to pay for these things in place, then the capitalization capabilities are there and the ability to construct is there. And so it would move things ahead a little more quickly than a community that's studying things and then has to decide whether they want to go out and float a bond issue to pay for something and do something more. And certainly, I would say from my understanding and talking with the local folks is that there's a good deal of planning going on. People are looking into the future around here, and you are going to need more water, and you're going to need to be able to control that.
Okay, Stephanie, I think other businesses coming to the area because we wouldn't have enough water, A, and B, because of your comment that you will not be impacting the quality of water, only the quantity. I think I need to state that between nutrients from sewage treatment plants and farms, the acid mine drainage coming down from Schuylkill County, sometimes, unfortunately, dilution keeps that water from being overbearing and ruining the Chesapeake Bay, quite frankly. If we reduce the amount of water going into the system naturally, because it's evaporated, how can you say that you don't have an impact on water quality, only quantity?
Well, let me back you up a moment and say,
okay,
what we're looking at is a supply that you may not currently have, and increasing that supply. So the benefit is, for instance, if we were to pick a Susquehanna River solution, and if our needs are 5 million a day, and we bring a system that delivers 8 million a day, then you are better by 3 million gallons a day because that system is there and you didn't have to invest very much money to get it. We paid the lion's share of the cost. So it's a brand new source that wasn't there before. So although I said we would impact the quantity in terms of what we use, if we've provided so the only impact is on our own system. We've not impacted you at all. In fact, we've provided extra. And that's kind of the goal here. That's where we're headed with this thing. We're not talking about taking water that's already being used. That was the answer to the question. That we're looking at a system of either managing local water, using the gray water that you're not using, if it's available, and not all of it's available. But coming up with a solution so that there is more water available to the community, not less, and sufficient water to meet our needs. When you design one of these systems and install it, in the days we're not running, and there will be lots of days where we're not running, then that whole robust system sits there with nothing to do except add more water, and at that point you can fill reservoirs, you can do all sorts of things, irrigate lawns and so on, flush streams, and it comes back to the bigger water management issues, Joel. And so I think when we finally come to you and present what we'd like to do, hopefully that helps you understand we would not impact those things. As far as the dilution factors and all that, that's all taken into account, and we will not reduce those. If anything, we will increase them. In other words, if we take the blowdown, as we call it, discharge from the plant, and we mix it with the sewage effluent so the sewage effluent that's being, at this point, and a lot of sewage plants, stay right on the margin because they don't get the dilution factor. With additional water from a discharge, they may very well say, hey, we're at a much better discharge rate, and we can actually discharge better and run our plant more efficiently.
Okay, I look forward to your final draft. I want to thank everyone. I think everyone was civil and very well behaved, and I do appreciate that. I'm sure Mr. Culver appreciates that, and we do appreciate him taking the time coming in here and sitting in the hot seat for a little bit so we could get some of our questions answered.
Okay.
And I'm